Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Jerry, can you please do roll call?
Tim Algedamus,
Excused.
Todd Clemens. Yep. Erica Connor.
Yes.
Don Cox.
Excused.
Mary D. Moore.
Here.
Art Schneider.
Here.
Greg Verts.
Here.
Jeff Vogel.
We're assuming still coming.
Barry Winchell here.
Well, excuse me.
We'll excuse him for right now. All right, this is an open meeting and has been noticed as such. We're going to start off with the presentations.
So there is no student rep report tonight?
There is no student.
What we'll be doing is we're going to be doing a compilation of the January, or the July and the August ones next meeting.
Not much going on this summer.
Not as many student activities going on.
Everybody's having fun. All right, citizens' comments? We didn't have any? Anybody else, citizens' comments? Okay. All right, consent agenda. We have approval of the board minutes of June 26, 2016, and approval of vouchers numbers 108416 to 108672 in funds 10, 21, 23, 27, 41, 45, 49, 50, 72, and 80, totaling 1.7 million and change, and receipts for June 2016 totaling 8.4 million and change. Are there any questions or concerns? Okay, hearing none, it's approved by consent. Staff or action items?
Yes.
We have staff retirements.
So first, I should mention, we did amend the agenda and send that to the appropriate people. Laura Stroika is back from vacation, so I'm very happy for that. So Stephanie doesn't even know the agenda was wrong, that she's going to be appointed Rowan Hills principal tonight instead of Prairie View.
I caught it.
Surprise.
I did see that.
Yeah, so I apologize for that mistake, but we did amend that appropriately this morning right away when Laura got back. So we do have two resignations, Nicole Marble, McGuanago High School Spanish instructor, and Aaron McLaughlin, section speech and language.
Okay.
You want to do those, or you want me to do the appointments right away?
Oh, we do them all together. There's
Okay. And we do have several appointments, and we have two additions that we just completed in the last couple of days. So Abby Klein, high school and middle school Spanish teacher. Darianne Schneider, McGuanago High School English. Molly Krchersek, section kindergarten. Is that right, Nick? Oh, Great Sarek. Yeah.
come on, Sean.
Emily Suchecki, Clarendon Special Education. Claire Kamak, Big Bend Special Education. Stacy Leonard, Clarendon First Grade. Kelly Keeler, section speech and language. And then the two additions in Art you just asked about Jamie. So Jamie Lang, Jamie Walker Lang, that's Rowan Hills 5th grade. And then Jacqueline Cly, Clarendon First grade.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. All right, motion carries. MHS Athletic Code.
So Andy Trudell and two of our McGuanago High School students are here to talk about the changes that they've made, the recommended changes to the athletic code. If you recall, Andy was here last month to talk about the potential changes and the impact that life of an athlete, that program has had on our student athletes. So we'll let you guys introduce yourselves. They do have the They do have it in their packet, Andy. Is this an updated one?
No, this is, these are answers to questions that were asked of me last time I
Oh,
was here.
okay.
I just wanted to start
Thanks.
with those to make sure that I got back to you on everything.
I got one. Or I got several.
So first off, thanks for having us. Last time I was here, you guys had a number of questions for me. The first page you may have received already. I sent this to Sean a couple weeks ago.
We did talk about it briefly at the
Okay.
last meeting.
Okay, so it was asked how many code violations we've had over the years, in the 7 years that I've been here. It's documented here, the total number, the number as related to alcohol, tobacco, or other drugs, or other, can be all kinds of different things. Probably the most notable one is trouble in school, so we'll get a suspension or something like that. That's an automatic athletic code violation. So if you look at other, there was one big year we had Sean will remember this, it was a big hazing, toilet paper / vandalism type of event, girls volleyball actually. And we ended up, I think we had 8 code violations in one event. So we do cover things like that as well. Somebody asked about the steps, how often we've had people get beyond step 1. It's pretty rare, but it has happened. One individual in my 7 years has made it to step 3. Believe it or not, chewing tobacco, a young lady from McWanago at the high school, so you never know. Page 2, or the back of that page, I did some research because it was asked that we look at doing, rather than just an athletic code of conduct, also doing an activities code of conduct. So I sent out an email to other ADs in the area just to ask what their codes were, and most of them have multiple codes. They have an athletic code of conduct and they have a activities code. And then I also, because somebody asked about drug testing, other districts that do drug testing. In the immediate area, I was able to find 4 districts that do drug testing: Arrowhead, Sussex Hamilton, Muskego, and Oconomowoc. And the next 3 pages are actually Muskego's school board policy on drug testing, and then the consent form or the refusal form. If they refuse, they are not allowed to participate in any activities. If they refuse random drug testing. Talked to Scott Coogie to get a little bit more information about their drug testing policy at Muskego. And first question was how often and how many kids. They do it 10 times a year randomly, 15 students at a time, so 150 tests total. Then I asked what it cost. And he said approximately $40 per test, so they budget right around $6,000 for their drug testing. And again, it covers any student who is involved in any activity, athletics, or purchases a parking pass for their parking lot. And they were all, every district that I talked to was basically the same way. And once you're in the pool, so if you're in band as a freshman, and then you never participate in another activity, or athletics or anything, or you don't park on campus, for your 4 years, you're in that pool. Once you're in, you're in. I did talk to Oconomowoc as well. They got a transition going on with new athletic director there, but I was able to talk to their administrative secretary there. And they do 10 per week at the high school, and then 5 per month at the middle school. So they're going 7 through 12 with their random drug testing. She did not know the cost. Theirs was run through their student services office, so she wasn't aware of the cost, but that's the information that I had for you from the questions that you guys had asked the last time I was here.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. As for the new athletic code, as I mentioned last time, a group of students, about a dozen students, helped me in writing the new code, and probably the 2 most active are the 2 that are with me today, and I'm going to let them talk about the new code. New code, obviously, with your approval. Kayla Smith is a junior, or will be a junior, at Quantico High School. She's a soccer player. And Nick Tangway will be a senior, and Nick plays football at Quantico High School. So I'll let you 2 take it away.
So basically the goal of why we wanted to change the athletic code was we wanted to make it more proactive instead of reactive. So instead of just saying, if you get in trouble, this is gonna be your consequences, we wanna also have like, okay, well, this is like what we want our program to be like, this is what we expect. It's not all just punishment, like, it's not, so dead on, that this is what you want. We wanted to get more in depth about what we mean and what we want. So we extended it and went more in depth about that, so.
And with that, one of those things is we started the program Life of an Athlete, which usually once a month on a Wednesday after school, all the athletes meet up in the auditorium, and we talk about drugs and alcohol and the effects it has on your body, and really trying to teach all the kids the problems that come along with it instead of just punishing them right away. And so through Life in an Athlete, we started thinking about changing the code of conduct because we actually had Mr. Trudell asked everyone how many of you have actually read the code of conduct, and I think 3 kids out of like over 100 raised their hand. So with this new code of conduct, we would like to also have a meeting for, like this fall, it would be August 8th, and you would have to have one of your parents or guardians come along with you, and we would present the entire code of conduct so everyone knows the rules, and then there isn't really getting around it if you end up getting in trouble. We also added the reinstatement, the code of conduct violations reinstatement. And so the first step is the student must attend. So if you do have a code of conduct violation, the student must attend all practices and meetings and be present at all competitions while under the suspension. They can't just quit the sport right away if they want to come back. Then they have to have a written request for reinstatement, must be submitted to the athletic director, so Mr. Trudell. The letter has to include why they were suspended and a plan of how to remain in good standing and the benefits for the student to return to competitive performance. And then also the last thing, which I think is a major thing, is making a verbal apology to the team and coach, just because it's a lot easier for a kid to take the suspension and just, yeah, I'm suspended, and not say sorry to the team or anything. But when the kid has to get in front of his entire team and look at all their faces and realize how much they hurt the team, I think it makes a much bigger impact on the effect of the suspension.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Another thing that we added is in our old one, we had nothing about social media because it was last visited in 2010. So we added social media into there because that is obviously a big part of our generation, becoming more major and major. So we wanted to make sure that that would be in there, so then people can't be like, oh, well, it's not in the code, so obviously if you found it on social media, it's not a big deal. So yeah, that's basically, we wanted to add that, and that is like, same thing as like, we're going off of cyberbullying or anything that is deemed inappropriate, anything posted or that you were a part of, even if it was just a picture of, let's say you holding a beer, but it was only for show, like you didn't drink it or anything, but since you were in a picture holding that, we're gonna assume who you were drinking. So, that just kinda makes it more, that you did this is your punishment, it's in the code.
And then also we changed the violations. We went from, the first violation is now 30%. The second violation would be 60%, and the third violation, you're completely suspended from all athletic activities for the rest of your high school career. And now, but there is a way to get back reinstated after 365 days with a written letter to the athletic director, and he has to either approve or deny it. And then the request would be made to go to an appeal board, which would be made up of one of the high school administrators, so principal or something, and then 2 of the Mukwonago High School head coaches would, not associated to that kid with their sport, would also be at the meeting, and then depending on what they believe would be whether or not you can be reinstated to play in your sport. That pretty much sums it up. Any questions?
I know Art said he fell asleep reading through it. It is much longer. Our old policy was 2 pages, and it was basically, don't do this. If you do it, here's what happens. Like these guys said, our goal was to be more educational, more proactive, and the biggest and most important part of this is that athletic code meeting with our athletes, with their parents, go through it. Here's what's in it. Here's what we expect, so that everybody knows going in that there are no surprises. Other things that were added that are different from the old code, vaping wasn't in existence in 2010. Kids vaping in hallways last popular thing, but we wanted to make sure we added that. The social media piece, there was something else I was gonna say.
The presence at a party.
Presence at a party.
So if you're at a party and all of a sudden you're there for a while and then you find out, okay, there's drugs and alcohol being used, you have to leave immediately. It can't be, oh, I didn't know there were people drinking here. You have to leave immediately, and it says in here how you're supposed to try and take whatever teammates or other athletes there to try to take them with you to get out of the party. And then, so let's say that party was on Saturday, that Monday, you're supposed to report it to one of your coaches or the athletic director. Otherwise, then you can get a code violation if you do not report it.
We put here that you have until the end of the next school day to come forward, and, we put in the honesty clause, which kind of, it's kind of saying, well, if you're honest, then we can reduce, the punishment. I think we agreed 10% for the first one. So let's say it was your first offense, and you come forward, you say, hey, I was here, I didn't do anything, I didn't know, but I was still at that party. Or even if you did do something that you weren't supposed to, but you came forward and were honest, then, your punishment can be, reduced from 30% to 20%.
That's been a hazy one over the years. And Mr. Terrell, I was there, but I didn't drink anything, or I left right away, and then I got other people on, I was there the whole night, and, you kinda go back and forth, so the key to the party one is, like they said, if they become aware, that something wrong is happening, they need to leave, and they need to report it the next school day. If they don't do that, we find out about it 3 days later, it's an athletic code violation. And again, that's being spelled out. And probably the other new piece, that I was trying to think of a second ago, was, the doubling of the penalty, if you host. So you roll the dice and you decide, I'm hosting the beer party this weekend, and you've had no code violations, you go from 1 to 2 immediately, because you hosted that. And, that goes along with the parents who lose the most, program as well.
That's what I was going to touch on, seeing that you're having this meeting, the parents, you have the perfect opportunity. I would just suggest that you hammer that home with them, because there are.
Yep, and I'm gonna try to get Officer Steinbrenner, if he's available, to come as well, because he knows quite a bit about
Right.
the hosting piece and what legally, I guess, could happen with the parent, much more so than I do. But we will certainly hammer home the point that your child will be punished twice as much as their
Right. But them as well.
Right.
I think the fact that these kids are realizing that there's drug testing almost every job, summer jobs now. If you're required to drive a piece of equipment or cut grass, whatever, there's drug testing for everybody.
I'm curious, in the process of this, how many students were involved in formulating the,
Yeah, for the actual code, it was about 12.
okay.
Summer meetings fell a little bit, Mr. Volko. We didn't
That's
have
weird.
quite the attendance we did during the school year when we pulled them out of class,
And gave them pizza.
Really?
believe it or not. But we
And
did have some after-school meetings, some Wednesday meetings where
Yeah.
it was on their time, and we still had good.
how was it determined who was gonna be participating in that?
We had a sign-up,
Okay,
and then,
It was everyone that attended the Life of an Athlete meetings.
okay.
It was a sign up, and also it was when Coach Iverson said, whoever, like, you can write somebody else's name down on the sheet. So I know a lot of kids, their name got written down on the sheet, and then Mr. Judell approached you and asked you if you'd like to help.
and I double-checked on each kid with coaches that I knew and some kids that I knew were clean, because I didn't want anybody on the committee that
Well,
felt might be in violation.
the reason I asked is because I thought, I'm impressed with the depth that you went into to create this. I mean, it's beyond what probably would have been accomplished if it had just been administrators or coaches or whatever that went through it. And so,
I was honest last meeting, and I did share that, like, if we looked at like Geneva Badgers, we looked at East Troy's, theirs were very
Sure.
similar. We did, like with any board policy.
Oh, yeah.
We took pieces and.
Sure, no, but I'm impressed at how this was taken care of. I think there's a buy-in then that.
Yep, absolutely. And the kids are gonna present at our,
Yeah.
at our parent meeting. it's their code. Obviously, it's your school board policy if you guys adopt it, but ultimately it's their code.
Because that's one of the things through Life and Athlete, instead of it always being the coaches or the administrators being the ones trying to almost like police everyone, they want to make it a student thing, initiatives, yeah. So if you know somebody, you know, you want to talk to them and kind of make it a student thing.
I think it also helps that we had actual athletes write this, so then it wasn't just coaches. You actually had our input. We had a big part in this, and we kind of were like, well, this is what I think we should do in this. So I think that people will say, okay, well, actual athletes wrote this. Maybe it's coming from their perspective. They know what they want. They know like how to do stuff. So I think that they'll take it more seriously, knowing that it wasn't all adults. It was also people who are in their footsteps, you know, writing it.
Okay, I know I was late to the last meeting, so I didn't hear a lot of this. So I was reading this, and I did call you the day, because I would have liked to see the old policy so that I could have compared it. I called and left you a message and didn't hear back, so I was wondering if anybody had a copy of the old one.
I
We
don't
put
have
the
one.
old policy in the packet last month.
I don't have one with me.
I went through my last month's packet and I didn't see it, but maybe I missed it, so. Okay, and then, in reading through it, I too thought it was kind of lengthy in whatever. I didn't know if there was like you know how sometimes when you have policy books, there's like a mini version so that you can.
Cliff notes?
Yeah, so that would be, easier to understand that. And I appreciate, Andy, you know me well enough to know
Sure.
that the, attention that's being given to trying to improve some of the situations that have been going on. However, there was, in some of the situations, I know towards the end, behavior and conduct, it talks about cyberbullying and bullying and harassment, but I know like in some of the situations last year where there were some sexual things that went on that shouldn't have gone on, so I didn't see that so much in here as far as that
So
being a.
criminal in nature if it's.
Well, right, and so, and with the, and my one thing with the criminal nature was, that, you know, if it hasn't been finished yet, there's nothing we can really do about it until it's gone through the courts unless there's some, so I don't know how that would play out. I'm just sharing my thoughts when I was reading through it. And the other thing I know you guys mentioned about having a person have to come up in front of a team and apologize. I think that's over the edge for some people to do as far as personally and, that is a pretty high expectation for some people to have to do that. And so I'm just thinking about myself, if I was in that place, you know what I'm saying? Not because you're not sorry you did it, but that's to actually, so maybe in writing or something, or
Well, I think,
posting.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, at least for the football team especially, we always talk about family. And when you're on the football team, you're family. So, just like in any family, when somebody does something illegal, it hurts the entire family.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, I know. But,
That's not what I'm saying is
but
wrong.
I'm saying, and I know how hard it would be for somebody to get up there and talk in front of the team. But I think it just makes a really big impact on the team, and it goes a lot farther.
You could damage someone emotionally and psychologically. You could.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I
don't-
They're not being asked to do it in front of a school. They're asking
The
to do it
team.
in front of their teammates who they have been practicing with and have
Yeah.
been together with.
And they
And when you're-
committed to already.
Exactly.
With the team, it's more, yeah, like you said, it's a family. So I think, you know, we're all, I know from the soccer team, we're joking around each other. We're so comfortable with each other. If one person was to do that, I know I would feel like they kind of like went against what we stood for. So I would want a personal apology. So I think that kind of helps, because then it's like the team knows that you did it wrong. You know what you did. You know, it's not just, okay, well, you served your punishment.
I actually wrote ownership, love it, on that part, because I have coached many teams, and I have made team members who have let us down apologize. I'm like, you need to go tell your team what you did, because it affects all of us, and it might damage someone. However, there are consequences to this life, and it's a deterrent. I think this is like kicking it old school, and I like everything about it. But maybe adding a very specific sexual, because that isn't specifically addressed.
I'm not sure about this regarding that. I don't disagree that something like that needs to be of concern, except for the fact that I wonder if the legality of it, if you get to that point, would supersede any kind of athletic code. And so it's already implied, if it's illegal and or there's some legality involved there, that
You'll notice we don't have any.
that's already
crimes
beyond
actually
the
listed
scope of the athletic
under the
code.
criminal behavior.
Yeah, I mean, that would kick in no matter what, and that's beyond the scope of the athletic code.
Apologies or anything.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
it's there.
can't be
It's there
correct.
already
Right.
in the books.
The other thing I think is you would need to have more than one meeting.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
We're planning on having one throughout, like, for the fall sports, and then winter, and then spring. So then, people who play a fall sport would go to fall, and even if you do play a fall sport and a winter, you'd still have to go to that one. So we have multiple ones throughout the year. For those
Well, what I'm thinking is you're saying August 8th, and this hasn't even come out yet, so there may be people who cannot attend them, so that is,
That is correct.
So-
We will have to have a makeup policy, and I'm gonna check with some other schools. This, code meetings are not unique, but I will check and see how they handle those people that, like you said, are on vacation. Volleyball starts the next week, and that's our last chance to get away. We're gone. We'll figure out a way to make sure that they, get this information as well.
well, and back to my other question, Tim, you're here today, right? That's you, right? In my comment of some individuals and this public humiliation, which is what is being asked, how do you feel about that as an educator in those kinds of things?
I don't know if I would go to the extent of calling it, request or humiliation act if they have some apologize for that. I think the intent of it is good in having someone own up to the mistakes that they've made. I think that I would be, very cautionary about what information is shared within the context of that apology, to make sure that personal, identification of incidents that occurred are not shared. Some of that information can be confidential in nature, but I assume that a general apology relating to the fact that their absence within the team over that extended period of time has possibly been detrimental to the team is an acknowledgement of a mistake and really an embracing of, we want you back on this team, you're a part of you, you're a part of us. And really, a lot of times something like that can really bond kids together. So I really think a lot of it is in the approach of how it's delivered, and the way it's handled, in particular by the adults in that situation. So I would encourage, the coaches to understand what this concept is, and really understand the best approach to convey that, and do some upfront work with the students, after they have a code violation or something like that, about what the expectation is, and offer them supports to get through that. And I think if handled well, and, the adults lead the process, I think it could be very powerful.
So Andy, do you think that our staff would have some training in that then?
I can certainly walk them through the code and what the reinstatement policy is and how that should look. I don't see it being an issue. I know some of our coaches already do it, just because that's their policy, and that's how they've handled it over the years. But I don't see it being a problem. The vast majority of our educators, if there is a real anxiety issue, we can be flexible. We're not gonna destroy a young man or young lady. But at the same time, the vast majority of them are gonna get up in front of their teammates.
Well, that's right, but
They're
I'm
gonna
not
have some
talking
tears in
about the
their
vast
eyes. They're gonna-
majority,
they're
right,
gonna-
I'm not
they're gonna
talking about that.
apologize, and their teammates are gonna forgive them, and they move on. But you're right, if there is that really extreme one, of course.
We tend to forget those people, and we tend to, out here in this area and in the
Yeah.
areas we're comparing, forget about some of those things because they don't apply to us. And I can tell that from the comments of my other board members,
Yeah.
because they don't. So-
But I would like to add, I mean, admitting you made a mistake, there's a lot of adults that go through life without having to fess up to making their mistakes.
And I
it's,
don't disagree.
it's something as an individual, as I got older, I grew and realized that it was important. If we're teaching the kids to do that at a younger age, I think we're doing them a great service. Not everybody can do that. I mean, we see people in office not admitting it. And it's a great lesson for kids to do. And that is what we're about, educating them, making them work better in society, and I think it's great.
Great job.
Thank you.
Yes. Great job.
I would like to make a motion, we approve this.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No.
Opposed.
Okay. Did we have to waive the first reading? Just say that again.
No, it's,
We're good.
yeah, we're
Okay.
good, but
Okay.
did you say opposed?
I did.
Okay.
I would like a little more thought on it because it's the first time we've seen it, and it's like we have to have it right now, and that's what we're tending to do. I'm not against it.
Okay, we're moving on. The elementary reading pilot proposal.
So Nick's here to talk about the third option with our reading pilot.
So at last month's meeting, we discussed the first two programs that we'll be piloting at the elementary level this fall and winter. And I'm coming today with a recommendation for benchmark literacy to be the third program. We'll be piloting all three at grades K2, and then we'll be piloting the second two, the collaborative classroom, which you already approved last time, and then the benchmark at grades 3 through 6. So it's all outlined on your memo. I'm sorry, no, it's right after the code in your packet. There's a memo outlining it. The cost, as we mentioned last time, some of the bigger publishers oftentimes work out deals to supply you with their pilot materials for free in the hopes that you buy them. They just charge such exorbitant fees that's just kind of built into their fee structure. These are smaller publishers that we think better meet the needs of where we're going with our reading instruction, and so there are costs. You can see this is kind of in between the other two that you already approved.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Is that it?
Yeah, this is Making Meaning is the one from the collaborative classroom that you approved last time, and then this is benchmark literacy.
I make
Make
a
a
motion to approve that.
Second?
Okay, we have motion second. Any discussion?
I like to look at things before I approve it, and I know it's just a pilot, so I will abstain from voting, but can I take that home? Or is that one I can't?
I think there are some that you could.
Okay.
So I have this one out specifically because I'm looking at it, but I
Okay.
can get you another one.
That'd be great.
Okay. Anyone else?
And the Benchmark has a great website if you want to just Google benchmark literacy. Has a lot of materials that you can review on their website also.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no?
No.
Okay. Motion carries. On to unfinished business.
So we have a number of items that we do not need action on tonight, but we want to provide information, and then we can take action at our August 8th meeting. So we're trying to balance it out per your request to have some committee work at each meeting and then some action items at each meeting. So I think it should work out much better.
And the correspondence.
All right. Central kitchen purchases?
Yeah, and Pam Harris is here if we have questions about that. Tom and
So I gave everybody a packet here summarizing the items we were looking to purchase there and update in our central kitchen. A couple other items over in some of our elementary schools. I got a revised number here from Pam today. The number actually came down to $124,000. But based on the numbers I've given you on the amount of the purchases along with the state of fund balance and Fund 50, we are perfectly in a position to make these purchases. So I just want to bring these to your attention and
Okay.
give you some updates on that, okay?
Can you drive that 80-gallon
Pam?
steam kettle?
What's that for?
For 47,000?
Maybe we could have Spot on one weekend.
Yeah.
Get some new income.
I saw that on Bugs Bunny, yeah.
All right.
Real quick, again, and we've been working closely with Pam to design the new high school kitchen. We had a big meeting with the designer today. But how many lunches on average do you guys prepare in the district kitchen, a typical day?
A typical day is about 2,800 lunches in the central kitchen.
So a lot of lunches. Need good equipment, and much of that equipment is how old?
It's 22 years old. And we could repair that big steam kettle, but the part that we need right now is a $7,000 part. That is, not, they don't build it until you need it, so it takes a long time, and then you have to get installation. And the service technician said we would end up gradually rebuilding that whole thing for a lot more money than.
Yeah. No, I believe it.
It's like a Mercedes.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any other questions?
Are these everything that you would like, or is there other things that you've just held back to get what you actually need?
Actually, I'm not holding back very much on this.
Okay.
That steam equipment is all in a row in the central kitchen. I probably would have designed that a little differently if I had been here when that kitchen was designed, but I started 2 months after that kitchen opened, and my menus were a little different than the person before me in my job. So now I am doing what I would have done back then, and ultimately it is a little less expensive. There are 2 80-gallon steam kettles right now, and what I'm proposing here is to replace one of them and put in a brazen, it's called a 12-gallon piece there, and 3-gallon steam kettle. So all total, it's less than replacing the 2 80-gallon kettles. The 2 80-gallon kettles together are $78,000. So it will actually become more functional, in the space that we already have.
I'm just curious, what do you make in an 80-gallon steam kettle?
We make taco meat, we make about 350 pounds of
Okay.
ground beef and spaghetti, meat sauce for spaghetti, meat sauce for lasagna, mashed potatoes, all of those, soupy, saucy things.
We haven't had dinner yet. You're making us very
Oh,
hungry.
sorry.
So, with this growth, future growth, I mean, how much growth can you handle with what your facility is right now, or when
Well,
it's purchased?
We used to serve, actually at our peak, we served about 3,200
Okay.
lunches a day out of that central kitchen. Enrollment was a little higher, participation
Right.
was a little higher.
And you're saying it's 2,800 now?
Yeah,
So.
and we could have continued to grow a little from there.
It's good to know.
Comes down to kind of planning the menu so that you use your equipment, all the different pieces of equipment all
Yeah.
in one day.
Okay.
It's a fascinating place. If you can go
Oh, yeah.
sometime during the school day, when we were giving our tours for the referendum, we frequently made a stop in the district kitchen, and that was a favorite spot of our guests, especially the seniors. They love to see that kitchen in operation.
It is actually, everyone who tours it is a little fascinated, and just anytime you want to come in, please do so, and we'll give you the cookie.
But you start at, what time do you guys start in the morning?
Well, we start at 5 a.m. I don't know how ready any of them would be for the tour at 5 a.m., but, maybe more like 7 a.m. Until, and kind of done by noon, 1, 2.
All right. Oh, Todd? We don't have a motion on the agenda,
I
so
don't
it
have
has
it
to
as an
wait.
action item.
It's not an action item on the motion.
I don't think so. I can find out for the next meeting, so we have that ability to do that. And I'm sure we can agendize items, so we can do that, but I didn't do it with this one.
Okay, all right. Anybody else? Okay, moving.
Thanks, Pam.
Next up, we have the budget amendment.
So I took some time over the last several weeks to take a look at the 15-16 budget to see where we were at, how things were developing. I gave you an update last month in June at the full board meeting about the state of the 15-16 budget. And in the event that there was expenditures we thought that were going to go over, that would be a time to make a budget amendment. There's merit in doing that. With the way state aid works, the state government will give us equalization aid, which essentially 41% of our tax levy is going to come from state government. They'll take a look at our 15-16 budget and say that based on if you spend what you said you were going to spend, this is the amount of money you can expect to receive from us in 16-17. We're basically on line with our budgets. If we were going to go over budget, we'd want to let them know to say, hey, we're spending extra money, therefore you may or may not be giving us extra money if our expenses go up. There's no need to amend any budgets at this time. I've looked into it. I've talked with people at Robert W. Baird to see where we are at. And after looking at, we have no need to make a budget amendment at this time.
Okay. Next up is enrollment update.
Yeah, I just said I was going to keep the board in the loop here as time goes on here about the state of enrollment here. Obviously, this is the number one factor in our revenues and how we get our money. So we did increase 19 students from 1 month ago, I should say, over the month from June 7th to July 7th. And I'll continue to do this at the committee of the whole meeting if we can get the information on time as we build into the rollout of the 16-17 budget in August. I just made some, observations overall. We do grow almost across the board from grade to grade. First grade's going to add kids when they show up to second grade in virtually every class. Unfortunately, we're just not adding enough kids to replace the graduating seniors. As we graduate 400 seniors and bring in 270-ish kindergarten students, we're not offsetting that. We are growing, yes, but we're not growing enough to offset that. That's ultimately what I'm seeing. So I really believe that we are a destination school district for a lot of families. Every grade is growing. They just need to grow a little bit more to offset that, those seniors leaving. So good things are happening. I just like a little bit more of it to happen from a budget perspective. So that's the update there on enrollment.
Come on, Art.
Nice job.
Get with the program.
I'm trying.
All right. Next up, we have the personnel committee or the superintendent goals. I gave each of you a list from your emails. And then I broke it down, most for employee retention and morale, followed by community involvement, and then there are the miscellaneous ones at the end. Yes, where do we want to go with this? I don't know what I want to do. Okay, I guess I'm taking it. All right, apparently most of us think the employee retention and morale is the most
Okay.
important part. I don't know if we each want a few minutes to read through it.
Or, can
Clearly
we
it's
go
the thing.
through them and try to, poll
Yeah,
the top, how many goals do the board members
4.
think are 4?
I
So,
think we decided last time 4 was the
4?
max.
can we try to, now that we have everybody's opinion, can we push this to the following month? And, I'm sure he'll still try to achieve something without us telling
For
him.
the next month?
For a
No,
month, yeah.
I'll take a month
You'll
off.
just fly. Just
Top of the
coast
senior
there.
thing.
So you want us to
Um,
put it together so
but-
you can?
Yeah, if we could all come up with, our top 4, maybe out of these suggestions,
these
maybe
suggestions.
there'd be more of a consensus. Are there odds that
we would do that, or am I taking a
You're
wrong approach, or is there a better approach?
Give us some time to look at them and see if we like somebody else's better and make our minds up what would be top.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree with you. That
okay.
You
Okay.
can't just get a piece of paper and say, oh, I think this is the best.
Okay, but
Right.
we're all not gonna wait
Because
till
there's a
the
million of them.
last day when I have to text everybody
did
for their
that?
answers.
Who?
And just, you know, I texted you all individually, so you thought you were the only one that didn't turn yours in.
I didn't think that, Mary, for 1 minute.
It was my plan. The master
I know
plan.
art better than that.
Okay. So you promise to be more on top of it? Give me your top four?
Well, are these, how
Or-
are we doing
or-
this?
Well, actually, you don't, you just need to bring them to the meeting.
Sure,
The
so
top
we'll-
four.
Yeah.
our next
Yeah.
meeting is
You don't
August
need to hash it
8th.
out.
Tell me.
So
And-
do you want us to send this to you so you can,
Well,
I-
we have it.
I have it in my-
no, in a different format so you can rank order them? Or are you guys good on doing it on your own and bringing it to the meeting?
Color
Pick your-
pencil,
Pick your top four and bring it to the
Works for me.
meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
stickers.
So then it's an action item for, what happens then is what I'm asking.
Not really, it's really an action item, but
No,
it's
it's
just, we're
to-
assigning goals to Sean for the next year. These are what you need to work on
At the next meeting.
Okay,
at
That's
the
fine.
next meeting.
pretty general,
Yeah.
broad.
it's-
Yep.
Okay.
Just because otherwise, if you don't give him direction,
He just does whatever he wants, and you can't have that. All right, on to Learning Committee. 2016-17 MASD Academic Standards.
So if you recall from last year, new state law, we are required to inform our parents what standards we'll be using. And so we have made no changes since last year. These are the state standards. So after the board approves them again, then we will inform our parents prior to the start of the school year. So again, this is not an action item. We'll look for approval on August 8th.
so these are common state standards?
Everybody knows?
I mean, the core standards?
Yes, well, the Common Core for math and for English language arts, yes.
Well, and we had even discussed it the last time we looked at these and approved them. Even if going away from that, Mary was saying we could name it whatever we wanted, even if the standards were the same. But just to get rid of that whole buzzword of Common Core, that we could make it, right, Nick? Am I repeating
Why is
this
that a
correctly?
bother?
Who said common?
Why is that such a concern that it said those words?
Well, it's a big concern for a lot of
For
people.
some people.
Well, I fail to understand, but that's all right. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Well, no, it's fine. I'm just bringing it back up as a reminder. Is that something that we care about?
I mean, some people are
maybe
offended
not
by
ju-
those words?
I would just make the
Student.
point that the reason why people get messed up or all wigged out about the whole word of Common Core,
Wigged out is definitely the formal term. Good job.
yeah, is because in just like law, education is supposed to be given to the states to go ahead and carry out, and Common Core is considered by some a federally made education plan. So that is why people get a little upset about
Even-
hearing about the
Even
Common
though
Core.
it's really just standards, not curriculum.
Yes, that is correct, but they
There's the
still
big
hear when-
difference, right.
Yes, but
Right.
I think the media kind of inflated
Right.
that whole.
Yeah, kinda got mixed up a little,
Yes.
accidentally, I'm
The
sure.
media does that?
That's
I-
weird.
Can you imagine that?
I like him.
All right, so back to my original comment. Is this something we want to address, rename, look at? That's my question. Or do we really not care so much?
For Common Core state standards, that's just where the baseline. That's where we have to be at a minimum, correct?
Right, yes.
We can go above them as far as we want,
So we
right?
can call it the McGuanago standard and say it's higher than Common Core.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to
Shoot
is,
for the
is
moon.
it just semantics, and then at that point, is it really worth it? So I guess that's a question for each of you to consider. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of labeling it something else because it's,
Right.
like you said, we'd just be changing the title.
Right,
We
right.
wouldn't really be changing the substance,
doing?
and
And if that fools
We have-
someone, they're not worth fooling, to tell you the truth.
I-
And that's how I view it. If that fools someone, they're as dumb as a rock.
Okay.
I would just say, I do
Oh,
think
is my
things
mic
have
on?
quieted down a little bit.
Yeah.
It has not been an issue, now that I said that, I'll probably regret this, but for the last several months, and I think Nick would agree, and if Mary Koski was here, we haven't had a lot of concerns. And again, the school board approves the curriculum. So the standards are one thing, curriculum is another. That's definitely a local school board decision. But things have been quieter, and I'm assuming that they'll stay that way. We have a lot of other issues, obviously, that the country's worried about right now.
All right. All right, moving on, 2015-16 seclusion and restraint report.
Okay, speaking of state law, it's required that we have these statistics and we share them with you. So Tim is here to just briefly highlight a couple of things from the seclusion and restraint report, but also the bullying and harassment. And then if you have questions, remember Tim just came on board July 1. So if you have questions that he can't answer, we can come back with the answer on August 8th.
Yeah, so I believe in your packet, you guys have, the bullying report is first. So in that report, you have the official definition, of what bullying and harassment is. There's also reference to what the board policy is pertaining to that. And then as you move into, page 2 there, the main chart to kind of draw your attention to would be on the bottom of page 2. Which summarizes the years 2010 through 2016 instances of bullying. And then also on page 3 is the harassment summary. So those are separated out because they're reported differently. So the data is different for those two areas. I don't know if you guys have questions in particular about the data related to the bullying report.
Tim, how do we rank, generally speaking, with all this data?
To be honest with you, in comparison to schools in the state, we're doing pretty well. From what my knowledge base is of area schools. Typically speaking, from my experience, when districts really push hard on the implementation of PBIS, which I know McGuanago is getting big on, implementing PBIS programs within the schools, a lot of times you may see some spikes in data because there's heavy focus on what those behaviors are. There's also a little bit of a heavier focus on the collection of that data and the reporting of that data. And that's something that I know historically in the district and myself wanting to move forward is that everybody is on the same field in terms of how we are reporting and how we're representing that data, so we have a real accurate picture of what type of reports are being made in our schools. So that's something that I know that the district and really the state and the country are working on, is how do we report that so we have accurate numbers of what's really going on. And the important side of this is also the follow-up on the staff side of when these reports are made, that staff is following through with investigation into those instances of bullying or harassment, so that things are handled and that we're really being proactive, just like talking about the athletic code of conduct being more proactive. That's the whole intent of PBIS, is to get out in front of some of these incidents and try to eliminate them at the root instead of being reactionary to reports of bullying and harassment. The second report there is the seclusion and physical restraint report. Again, that's something that we have to report to the school board. In this document, you'll notice there's a difference in the way it was reported for 2015 and 16 in comparison to 2014 and 15 and 13 and 14. And there's a disclaimer there if you want to just read that to understand why I chose to report it that way, just due to the number of schools and individuals involved with the seclusion and restraint. It's better to present that data as a district-wide number instead of parsing it out by school, just for confidentiality reasons.
So, just the obvious.
Yep.
All 18 incidents were one student, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is the superintendent's report.
Okay, we wanted to talk a little bit about the MHS project, give you an update on that. And Kurt is here, and in your packet, we wanted to take a look at the final phasing plans. I shouldn't say final because of course they may change. And see if you had any questions on that. The first page in your packet shows the parking and outside work. Then the second page is first floor, and finally the third page is second floor. And so I think we have that.
I don't see the gates in the picture, but they're my favorite part of the plan. They're still there, right?
The gates, which gates?
In the
Cutting
parking
the
lot,
students
Oh,
from,
yes.
cutting those
Absolutely.
students off,
Yes, the gates are,
keeping them on their end,
jump
down
the
there.
gates, Yeah.
yes, yeah, the parking lot flow will be much
my
nicer. with,
favorite part of the whole
with what we
project.
have. Yeah, as Sean's,
I have to pick up and drop off every day.
there you go. It's really just probably at this point, let's just focus on what's happening over the next year, basically through next whole year plus through next summer, just to give you a good idea as we approach this. The orange on this first page, so this is a site plan. The orange, there's a little bit of work happening this fall, so September-ish. We're working through with the village right now, trying to get all our permits and approvals processed. We're in the plan commission meeting with the village in August. So hopefully that all goes well, that we can keep moving forward. But the orange area, where it says phase one on the right side of the page, is getting the parking lot set up for bus drop-off, okay? So that's gonna be needed, so later on next spring, we can close off the front of the school, and buses can still drop kids off during the school year. The other part that's happening this fall is on the far left side of the page. That's where the tennis courts would go, so which is left west of the track. So that's the, and then there's potential of the stormwater management pond somewhere in our field. We haven't finalized the location. That would be the other thing. So just a little bit of site work that would be happening this fall yet. Really the main construction starts, if you look at the second page, and in the top of the page where it says phase A.1 is the auditorium area. It shows the fine arts classroom, so I think it's a little bit aggressive by saying January of 2017, but somewhere January, February timeframe, they're looking at getting started on the classroom portion, which is the eastern side of that, and then in the March timeframe, getting going on the auditorium piece, which will then they'll flow into the office addition as well, which is just west of there. So that's the next, and then both those projects are both those areas are about a year-long project for the additions. Down on the bottom right-hand corner of the page in the green shows an April 2017 start for the corridor addition. So that's our small little addition just to connect those two dead-end corridors to make the travel from one end of the building to the other a little bit easier, since we now we've been locking our doors. That used to not be an issue when we didn't lock our doors. These kids would just cut through there, but now that we've last couple of years been locking our doors, this will help. Next, so that will get us, actually let me jump to the next page, which is the second floor. So backing up a month back into March again, the second floor area, there's two areas up in that, or one big area. We broke it down into two areas of the second floor. So kind of that blue area, kind of the center core of the second floor, would happen next spring as well in March. And then just to the southeast of there, an underutilized portion of the second floor, we'd take that opportunity to renovate that at the same time. We're breaking it into two separate areas just because we don't have the physical space to take everything out at once. So starting next, the 2017 17 school year, about half of those classrooms on the second floor will be new and improved. And then the following summer, we'll do the other half of the second floor classrooms.
So when these classrooms right here, obviously are all in use right now by teachers and students. And so starting next March, then April, May, and a little bit of June, those students will be displaced. And those teachers will be conducting their classes elsewhere throughout the building. If we had tried to do both of these, there simply was not enough space in Glencoe High School to displace all of those teachers and all those students. So we're working with Jim Narron and Jody Kay to create a schedule starting next March, that's next March already, to move those classes to other areas of high school. So there will be a little disruption.
So in preparation for that, some of the things we're doing this summer is freeing up maybe some classrooms that are being used as storage space. We're freeing that up this summer. We're providing some swing space, so, individual's classroom maybe use 6 hours of the day, and they just stay in that classroom. Well, we're providing swing space so that classroom is used all hours of the day, and the teacher that's in that classroom has an office to go to. So those are some of the things that we're doing right now, just to kind of prep for this, in preparation for next March. There is some abatement stuff that will happen in some of these areas. We had our testing done throughout the high school, and which we expected, there's areas of abatement. So we're gonna find opportunities. Maybe it's Christmas, we'll get in there and take the floor out in some areas. So they may be on just bare concrete floor for a couple months in preparation for the actual construction start. So that stuff is all being planned. And then, so come next summer, we're looking at hitting the library renovation. And up on the second floor again, there's 3 classrooms that will hit during the summer as well. That way we can utilize them through next school year, and then do a quick renovation in those areas so they're ready to go the start of the 2017 school year. So.
The new gym?
Yes.
Start next spring also.
So, yep, that we're looking at a May start. So basically, the footing foundation crew will work from the auditorium and move right on to the gym addition. So it's shown in different phases here. It'll just be constant flow, just to give you an idea of where things are happening and when. So the same crew will just jump over to there. And they're showing July 2018. We said it would be nice, and we may be able to have that. If we want to have graduation there in 2018, that's certainly a possibility, that we could have graduation in that gym June of 2016. 18, yes, thank you.
I have a question. With putting the tennis courts over there, I know the band uses that area right now for practicing. And, my uneducated opinion would be to send it to the east of the high school. There's a field there. They did practice there at one time.
The band, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I understand that there's a lot of holes there that people were falling in, golfers and whatever. So I think that's feasible. It's even closer to their band room, which would make the kids very happy.
Mm-hmm.
But if that was a safe field, I think everybody would be
Yeah.
happy.
So we will have them this summer, or this fall, because construction will start over there this fall. We will have them relocated to that spot that you're talking about.
Okay.
But if you look at that drawing of where that parking lot is expanding to,
Right.
that's gonna cover up that area that they're gonna use this fall.
It's the entire area? See, I was trying to
He's
figure
got-
that out.
You can see up there how much is left.
So this is the northeast corner?
Right,
you're
right,
referring
right.
to?
Okay.
So yeah, the parking lot, this east lot does get expanded to the north,
Okay.
so that might take, like Rich said, some
Right.
time.
So that is the plan. Actually, Andy, myself,
Okay, good.
and the band director is getting together. He's setting a meeting up, and he's trying to set it up for this week. And we're getting together because we have a plan through this next school year. But one of the things that the band likes to be able to do is be able to have a high view. So it really did work out good when we moved them
Right.
there last year. On the backside of the bleachers, they could climb to the top of the bleachers and look down on.
Right.
So we're meeting with band director just to figure out where a good alternative location for them to go is. So, but yep, we at least have a plan for this next year.
Trumpet lesson going pretty good?
I'm almost got the hang.
Any questions on the phasing? Other updates I'll just quickly give, we hit the 25% milestone with the drawings. So our next milestone is our 50% drawings. Design's coming along well. It's, the drawing deadline for 50% is the end of the month, and then the budgets, will be that following month, to follow up behind that. So, we're working through the, drawings, making tweaks. I mean, there's still a lot of changes happening as we work through it, which is common. We had, if you remember, we talked about the gym expansion, the desire to have the ability to expand. So we had some good conversation and good plan for how we can set that gym up for expansion. Number of ways we could look at it. Today, actually finalized with Andy, athletic director, and our track coach, and talked about one of the options of being able to expand it with not adding a lot of costs now. As far as you know, one of the ways we could have done is made it so it's real easy and perfect to expand, and it was a big increase to do that. So we found a way of being able to expand it in the future if we wanted to expand it, and just not have to put a lot of money into it now, and it won't be a lot of money later either. So we found a good solution there. So that's coming along well. Yeah, I think there's anything else? Any questions on progress?
As far as major changes, one would be the IT Academy. We have moved the location of the IT Academy to be adjacent to the library. We believe that's a much more visible location for that great program. And so you won't see it on there. It's part of the library expansion, or library renovation, excuse me. But as far as other major changes, you had requested that we move the gym north so we could expand. I don't think we had a lot of other major changes. One more, we did find a way to have a separate orchestra and a separate band classroom. Anything else, Kurt?
No, I think that
How are
covers
the conversations with staff going? I mean, are they feeling like they're being listened, that they're being heard?
I would say yes.
What was the question?
You would say yes, would they say yes?
No,
Yes.
they are saying yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so do the staff feel like they've been involved in the planning and the design process? I'm confident that the vast majority would say yes. So just for example, the IT Academy change that we've made, the band orchestra classroom, that's a change that was requested by staff. So those architects are pretty good, and they've worked with a lot of different high schools and staffs. So they're taking the staff members' request. Yeah, we had a good meeting today, and so that cafeteria is going to be a great improvement to our building and to our schedule. So,
Are there gonna be any extra, I mean, you were buying this equipment for the kitchen, what about for the
yeah, so
new-
that's for the district kitchen.
Right.
For then the high school
Okay.
kitchen, so there is some money in the budget, in the referendum money for high school kitchen equipment.
So I'll comment on, you know, a lot of my construction management experience was not with schools, and that design process goes a lot quicker when you don't have to get input from an entire staff. So the architects really have been doing a great job. I mean, August 10th, I think, is another round of following back up with a group of staff people, and it's from 8 o'clock till 3:30, and that's all it is in conference room 15, and they have different groups coming in. Okay, this is what we heard last time. This is what we drew. This is where we're at. I mean, they're not going to satisfy everybody, but the design process takes a little bit longer, and the reason for that is to try hearing what everybody is saying and try balancing that with the other constraints that we have. in the district, and so I am very happy with how the architects are handling that part of the project.
The art department?
That's been a positive experience.
Oh.
Yeah, they're good, and they're, as a matter of fact, on August 10th, Eric Rutowski and Chris Loyce will be back to, and they've visited some other schools and have some ideas. Of course, the project's well over $100 million now because of all these staff ideas, so.
It's just a few minor changes.
But, no, it's going pretty well. Any other questions or concerns? All right, great. Thanks, Kurt. Oh, and then, speaking of construction, I put in, or on the agenda, the spring break. As you know, we had some parents requesting that we have an earlier spring break. Well, they may get their opportunity in the spring of 2018. So, Schmidt Construction Company has asked, CG Schmidt has asked that we have our spring break the second week of March in 2018, which will allow them to start construction in the spring sooner and inside of the building. April 1 is Easter that year, and we may need to have spring break the second week of March.
When, okay, I looked at that and thought about that. So when you don't, until you do this a bit, you don't know if you're gonna be on schedule or what you're going to be. So to make a decision for something that you don't know for 2 years from now is kind of, that's one question. The other is, you're looking at 2 weeks. You're not looking at like 2 months or a
I think
month.
the 2 weeks is so they can get the project completed by September 1 of the following school year. So that's how tight the schedule is now. I should let Kurt speak to this because he has much more experience.
They will hit milestones, and I shouldn't say it like that because that's going to jinx the project. But I mean, as many things that hinges on milestones as far as completion and stuff like that. It's not like maybe a smaller project that your house or even a smaller project here that time slip. I mean, it's critical because the number of things that hinge on those. There's just from furniture delivery to everything to planning the school. They'll hit milestones. I mean, in between milestones, that'll may slip. But with what they're telling us as far as what it's going to take to get the project done and moving that up those couple weeks, I believe what they're saying. I think it's a good move to help the project.
And I bring it up now because this fall we'll start actually talking about the calendar for 17-18.
Right on.
Okay, and that's gonna be a 1-year change.
Right. I'm only talking about the
Just so we can explain to the parents that this is
I'm only talking about the
special
calendar for
exception.
17-18.
Yeah.
And then
This is-
then if there's discussion for beyond regarding a permanent spring break being in March, that's a different discussion. But this one's construction related.
But that was one of the, we changed, now it's just gonna stay that way.
Yeah, this is a construction change.
Yeah, and that's a
No, I
board
think it
decision,
makes
so
a lot
that's
of
something that you
Okay.
guys would have to
All right.
decide.
All right, correspondence legislation?
Yeah, just one thing, and that I didn't make copies because I didn't know if any of you would be interested, but if you recall, Erica was our delegate to the WASB Delegate Assembly. She's also doing it this coming January. But this is the resolution packet, so all the work that we did first as a board and then Erica at the Delegate Assembly. Didn't know if anybody wanted to see the booklet, so I'll pass it around. Feel free to keep it as long as you'd like. Maybe you each want to take it for a month.
Yeah,
Have a hard time getting to
I get
sleep
to
some
sign
night.
up.
Read that.
Yeah, I did.
Are those the resolutions for this year listed in there, or this is
That's
last
right?
year's? This is last year's, right?
That's the ones they approved, right?
That's
Those
what
are the
I
ones
did last
that
year.
Erica worked on last January, so they're for
They're-
this
that's
this
for
school year. And then obviously we'll work on them again starting in November or December.
Most of them
I
this year.
think I have.
Oh, you
Even
just
if
put a
she's
target
I'll second that.
on it.
All those in favor? Okay.
Discussion.
Anything else?
No, that's it, and
Okay.
so I think we're ready to go into executive
Oh,
session.
wait, board member questions?
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped that.
It's okay. Anything? All right. Citizens' comments? Anyone? All right.
I'd like
All
to
right,
make a
motion.
motion
Go ahead.
Do I have to read?
to go into executive
All
session.
right, I'll second it. And then
Roll
Jerry,
call.
roll call.